So, following our narration theme, last week we started the chapter of worshiping Govardhan Hill with Krishna and the cowherd boys and Balaram noticing in the place of the yogic Brahmins that after he had spoken with their wives, they were preparing another sacrifice. And in the conversation with Nanda Maharaj, Krishna learned that they were preparing to offer Indra Yogya because he's the provider of rain, and they are agriculturalists, farmers, cowherd men, very much require rain. So, in these two lessons that we'll review today, Krishna continues his presentation of why they should not and don't need to worship Indra, and why instead they should worship Govardhan Hill and the cows. So let us enter into those texts. This is March 2025, lessons 5 and 6, chapter 24, worshiping Govardhan Hill. Samapriya, can you pick someone to start us off with reading, please?
Yes, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this transcendental network here. Tisha, would you like to begin for us today?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24, 12 through 14, Saratha Darshani. Sukadev Goswami said, when Lord Keshava, Krishna, heard the statements of his father Nanda and other senior residents of Vraj, he addressed his father as follows to arouse anger in Lord Indra. Lord Krishna said, it is by the force of karma that a living entity takes birth, and it is by karma alone that he meets his destruction. His happiness, distress, fear, and sense of security all arise as the effects of karma. Even if there is some supreme controller who awards all others the results of their activities, he must also depend upon the performers engaging in activity. After all, there is no question of being the bestower of fruitive results unless fruitive activities have actually been performed. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in order to show pastimes as a human being, Krishna spoke the philosophy known as Karma Vada or Karma Mimamsa to minimize the importance of the demigods. Krishna makes his logic stronger by negation. If there's a supreme controller, he must depend on a performer of activities to reciprocate with, and must therefore also be subject to the laws of karma, being obliged to award happiness and distress to conditioned souls according to the laws of good and evil.
Okay, before we go on, Tisha, do you have something that you want to say about this and about Lord Krishna actually preaching this philosophy?
Which is so profoundly cool. But just that, I mean, it's pretty clear that you have to do some activity, and the gods don't reward you accordingly. What rewards you it's the cycle of karma. You're forced to take the results of your karma by the activities you perform. The reciprocation is you're active, and then the results follow. I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. This is a very interesting topic that Krishna is discussing. The fact that he is saying it, what does that mean? The fact that Krishna is saying it.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, there has to be some truth. There has to be some truth to this, right? Yeah. Even though we might have some questions. Pati, did you want to say something?
Well, I kind of wonder, doesn't it mention later that what he's presenting is more or less an atheistic point of view? So just because Krishna says it, if he's actually employing a form of trickery somehow, do we still have, like her immediate answer was because Krishna said it, therefore it's true?
Well,
but then the purports are explaining that it's atheism. or covered atheism or hidden atheism, as we'll get into as we go further.
Okay. Well, do you have a counter argument, Tisha?
I like no, I don't have an argument, but I
Oh,
do have a comment that says that I get like especially when the part about negation, like you learn things kind of step by step, and so maybe this is like the first step in the understanding of Krishna being the
yeah.
supreme controller and absolutely in charge of everything, but it's like maybe a step by step process.
This is a very good answer. Do you accept that, Patsy?
Pretty
Acharya has some comment.
Okay, Acharya G. We're starting off with a bang today. Acharya.
Yeah, I find the whole Karma Mimamsa thing that Krishna does so interesting because it's atheism. I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it's atheism plus the belief in an eternal soul, which is itself kind of an odd combination. But it's also one of the Saddarshan. It's one of the authorized, Vedic philosophies,
Oh,
or
Atheism?
at least accepted Vedic philosophies.
Which one?
Karma
Karma
Mimamsa.
Karma
Mimamsa.
Mimamsa.
Yeah, it's one of this,
Yeah.
as opposed to like Buddhism or Jainism, which whether you think they're right or wrong, they're not one of the
right.
authorized six Vedic philosophies. So in that sense, even though it's sort of bogus in a way, but it also has some authority. There's some authority
Yes.
behind using those arguments. Or just like I might even compare it like in Bhagavad Gita, sometimes Krishna uses arguments with Arjuna based on morality, based on tradition, based on honor and dishonor, which are not as absolute as, just give up everything and surrender to Krishna, but he's using it as some of his argument.
Right. The other, there's an, oh, okay. Well, Thakur has something now. Thakur, how are you?
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, hope you are doing well. Okay, so yeah, I was saying I'm looking at it. So it's possible that the whole aspect of the karma mimamsa, that it was maybe a point of view at that point in time. So well, let's maybe speculating now. So maybe Lord Krishna
Slow
brought it
down,
up.
slow. Speak slow. I can't
Yeah,
understand.
that's my weakness, but yeah. So I'm saying it's quite possible that that sort of philosophy was a sort of a part of the culture.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yes, it's quite possible. So by Lord Krishna bringing it up at that point in time, to start the discussion, and I'm
okay.
the point of view, saying,
Okay.
yeah, because you want to say, look here, you don't have to worship the demigod or worship in Indra, so to speak, because that will further say that rainfall everywhere in place that's not needed. So how could be, we worship Indra when, rain is falling and the object of worship is to get, you offer something and you get something in return. Yes. So I'm saying it's possible it could be part of Leela and a part of the culture that Krishna would have brought it up to start the whole discussion going. So maybe
Whoa.
I'm just saying, well, I'm not rambling, but it's quite possible that it could be a part of the culture or the philosophy at that time.
Yeah.
That's
I think that part of the main thing that caught my attention, oops, wrong button, was this part where he says, even if there is some supreme controller who awards all others the results of their activities, he must also depend on a performer's engagement in activity. He's presenting that the bestower of benedictions, in this case Indra, is not independent. And therefore, that's a form of atheism, because the true definition of a supreme controller is that he is independent. The very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes that Krishna is Svarat. He's Svarat and Abhigya. Abhigya and Svarat. He's independent and all-knowing. So if we come from that point of view, he doesn't want to bring that up for one reason or another, mainly probably because he is the Supreme Personality of God, and we're not going to go into that realm. But what he is doing right now is he's counteracting the concept that if this person isn't independent and is simply dependent on the activity of the performer, then whether we perform the activity for his pleasure or not doesn't matter. As long as we perform the activity, he'll have to bestow results. So why worship him is ultimately where he's going to come down to.
I'd like to add one more little thing here. We were discussing it before, that for every action, there's a reaction, right? That you can even take to the spiritual world. Something is done, there's another reaction to it. There's always action and reaction. In the material world, it makes for karma, but even in spiritual atmosphere, there is, when you surrender and this, and then Krishna reciprocates in this way, and that leads you to another reciprocation. And there's always action and reaction. So this is a really big subject matter. But right now,
I think as you're speaking though, and digesting what you're saying, it's not mechanical the way it is in the material world. This world is mechanical. It's
right.
For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Because Krishna is independent, that cannot stand as a law in the spiritual world. It's not a law of nature there.
Well, okay. If you have a relationship with Krishna, which we all do, and you act in a certain way, you think there won't be any reaction? There's a reaction.
Well, for example,
but it's based on love. It's based on.
For example, we just read about the wives of the Brahmins, and it was described that Krishna wanted to enjoy with him his sarva, what is it? The desires the energy that fulfills all his desires. So he wanted to enjoy with them, but the Leela Shakti dominated, and therefore it subdued his rati. So just because they came, just because they came to enjoy conjugally with him, doesn't mean that he had to reciprocate with that and act conjugally with them. We see that he didn't do it.
Okay, wait a second. That's not the only way that he could react.
Well, you just said that if you approach him in a particular way, he'll have to react in a certain response.
No. He's independent.
Okay.
There will be some reaction. Let's just leave it wide. That's what I meant. Because otherwise, it's impersonalism.
No, it's just not mechanical, is what I was pointing out.
Well, if there's no reaction whatsoever, that could be called impersonalism.
Sure.
So when we do something, we should know that we're affecting our atmosphere. We're affecting Krishna because he's conscious of everything that's going on, and he's reciprocating with us even if we ignore him. He reciprocates by standing back. There's no otherwise. Okay, this is a big topic. We're going to stop it here and go on, but it really, it's very dynamic because for every action, there is a reaction. Hare Krishna. Do you accept that, Pati?
No, not an opposite and equal reaction.
I didn't say opposite.
Okay.
I said
yes,
reaction.
There'll be a reaction, certainly.
Causeless mercy does exist. Okay, that's none. Okay, it is causeless mercy.
We'll continue and see if we get more enlightened.
What?
We'll continue and see if we get more enlightened.
Okay, hopefully we will. Let's go on now with Bhadra. Would you like to read? Thank you, Tisha, for starting us off with a big bang today. Are you there, Bhadra?
To unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Done with everybody. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24, text 15 to 17. Living beings in this world are forced to experience the consequences of their own particular previous work. Since Lord Indra cannot in any way change the destiny of human beings, which is born of their own nature, why should people worship him? Every individual is under the control of his own conditioned nature, and thus he must follow that nature. This entire universe, with all its demigods, demons, and human beings, is based on the conditioned nature of the living entities. Because it is karma that causes a conditioned living entity to accept and then give up different high and low grade material bodies. This karma is his enemy, friend, and natural witness, his spiritual master, witness, his spiritual master and controlling Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The demigods have no function at all. They are like the nipples on the neck of a goat. Thus, Krishna says that there is no need to worship Indra because people are simply reaping their inevitable karma. There may be an objection. Action cannot take place unless the super soul instigates it. Thus, how can you say that the demigods have no function? Krishna answers, the super soul inspires the soul to act on the basis of his previous impressions, samskaras, and for no other purpose. Since one only acts according to his previous deeds, worship of Indra will have no effect.
Wow.
The next two slides are the same exact topic, but from Prabhupada's writings.
Okay, go on. Bajra, you want to go on?
Okay. After hearing this, Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, in the presence of his father and all the cowherdmen of Vrindavan, spoke in such a way as to make Heavenly King Indra very angry. He suggested that they force the sacrifice. The reasons for discouraging the sacrifice performed to please Indra were twofold. First, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no need to worship the demigods for any material advancement. All results derived from worshipping the demigods are simply temporary, and only those who are less intelligent are interested in temporary results. Secondly, whatever temporary result one derives from worshipping the demigods is actually granted by the permission of the Supreme Person of Godhead. It is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mayeva vihitan hi tan. Whatever benefit is supposed to be derived from the demigods is actually bestowed by the Supreme Person of Godhead. Without the permission of the Supreme Person of Godhead, one cannot bestow any benefit upon others. But sometimes demigods become puffed up by the influence of material nature, thinking themselves as all in all. They try to forget the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, you know,
There is
just
more.
wait a second. Let Tisha finish this one, and then we'll talk all about it. Tisha, go on with this one.
Okay. Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24, 12 through 17 continue. With this purpose in mind, Krishna began to talk as if he were an atheist supporting the philosophy of karma mimamsa. Advocates of this type of philosophy do not accept the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. They put forward the argument that if anyone works nicely, the result is sure to come. Their opinion is that even if there is a God who gives man the result of his fruitive activities, there is no need to worship him because unless man works, he cannot bestow any good result. They say that instead of worshiping a demigod or God, people should give attention to their own duties, and thus the good result will surely come. Lord Krishna began to speak to his father according to these principles of the Karma Mimamsa philosophy. My dear father, he said, I don't think you need to worship any demigod for the successful performance of your agricultural activities. Every living being is born according to his past karma and leaves this life simply taking the result of his present karma. Everyone is born in different types of species of life according to his past activities, and he gets his next birth according to the activities of this life. Different grades of material happiness and distress, comforts and disadvantages of life are different results of different kinds of activities, either from the past or present life.
Okay, well, there's a lot of answers here. Think about this for a minute. And Bajra, what did you think? What do you have to say about what you read?
I just want to hear others before I say anything.
Okay. Okay. Tisha, what did you think about this? Tisha?
I thought the part that Bhaja read, Prabhupada seems to say that if you worship the demigods, you could get some kind of benediction, let's say, but it doesn't come from the demigods. It actually comes from Krishna. So
That's good.
I got that part.
Yeah. Anyone else have something to say? Acharya? Let's go back to the
Nothing
people.
to add here, just enjoying the discussion.
Okay.
Because we know the ending, which reveals Krishna's motive. We can see that here it says, hearing this, Krishna, in the presence of his father and the cowherd men, spoke in such a way as to make the heavenly king Indra very angry. So there's actually a purpose behind what he's presenting. I think also it was mentioned here. No, not yet. There, to arouse the anger in Indra. It's actually a verse in the Bhagavatam. So because we know the ending and we know the motive, therefore it's a little easier for us to dissect and try to understand what is he trying to bring about. The ultimate goal of his presentation and his arguments is that we don't have to worship this person. Then after establishing that point, he's going to say, let's do this instead.
Huh. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Acharya?
Acharya.
Okay, it turns out I do have something.
Okay.
I think this is a good lesson that sometimes when Krishna wants to help us, he may poke us.
Very nice.
Just like why did he want to make Lord Indra angry? Just because it's not just because
Good.
he's a nasty guy, he wanted to make him angry.
No.
Because he's all okay, this person's puffed up, has some misconceptions. This is my way of waking him up. So, that may happen to us too if Krishna pokes us a little.
May, you think?
We shouldn't get angry, and we should understand that he's trying to help us.
Very nice. Excellent.
That's not so easy sometimes, huh?
Hmm.
Okay. Anyone else? Let's go on then. Acharya, you can read.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, Text 18 through 19, Sarartha Darshini. Krishna continued, therefore, one should seriously worship work itself. A person should remain in the position corresponding to his nature and should perform his own duty. Indeed, that by which we may live nicely is really our worshipable deity. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? We would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with her paramour. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Sri Krishna here proposes that our work, karma, or occupation is really God, and that we should therefore simply worship our work. Though karma in general should be respected, karma as the cause is also proved through scripture. Those situated in their social position, varna, such as brahmanas, perform actions according to that varna. Nanda Maharaj said, but how can there be success of a sacrifice where the ingredients are offered to the demigods without accepting the demigods? Krishna. The demigods are only karmanga, secondary assistants to the karma itself, according to the philosophy of causality. In this way, the demigods are reconciled. Karma, the work by which we live happily, is our deity.
Okay, Acharya.
I'm intrigued by how close some of this is to like what Krishna says about work in Bhagavad Gita. It's not the same, and it's leaving out Krishna, but he says important about how you should work. The proper way to work is to do your duty, And a lot of, I mean, amongst Indians, I think it's fairly common to think, oh, the lesson of Bhagavad Gita is that I should do my duty. So, of course, leaving out Krishna is the problem, but I just find it really fascinating how it's sort of close to some things, but it's not considered a proper philosophy because it leaves out the factor of Krishna.
Vajra? Thank you, Acharya. Vajra?
Work is worship. That's what he's saying. So forget about the God. There is no existence of God. Atheist. There is no God. There is nothing. It's work. What you work and you get the result. If you do good, you get good. If you don't do, if you do bad, you get bad. Many people have a sign on their office outside the door. Is work is worship. Atheist.
What if you work in devotional service? What's that? I mean, you're
Work
doing the
is
same work, but
work is devotional services accompanied by the mercy of the Lord. You are getting something to do with a karma. There is no question of action or reaction. It is all there is a karma. There is no vikarma or sukarma, right? It is all devotional service. So without any karma, it's just mercy of the Lord, and you engage in service to please the Lord.
okay, well, that's also a big discussion. Cheta.
Haribol, Pranams, everyone. The difference is that there's karma and there's karma yoga.
Okay, good. That's
Karma
good.
yoga is work that's done in devotion to Krishna, to please Krishna. But karma is done to please ourselves.
Very nice.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Why don't we take a moment here, because I got it up on the screen. I just looked it up. Tatamayi, maybe you can read these from Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, thank you. Haribol. Okay, text 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjun, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical, philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. 4. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. 5. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Sounds very similar to what he's just saying here. Everyone's forced to act by their conditioned nature.
Yes, there's something, there's a ball rolling, something is in action, and we can't really control that. However, we can direct our intention. That is one thing we can change.
That's what he's going to explain here. So read a few more.
Okay, sorry. Text 6. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. 8. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Here's the big one. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. So that's the definition of karma. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage.
So this was the point you made, correct?
Yeah,
There are two ways to perform it.
Thank you for providing evidence for that. Yes, it has to, we keep doing what we're designed to do, but we're not doing it for us. If we do it for us, that's the horrific bondage of it. It just keeps perpetuating over and over into the cycle, and we don't know why we're suffering, but we suffer because we're disconnected.
Okay. Whoa. Very good. Shall we go on? Acharya, can you read? Continue.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, Text 20 through 21, Sarartha Darshini. The Brahmana maintains his life by studying and teaching the Vedas, the member of the royal order by protecting the earth, the Vaishya by trade, and the Shudra by serving the higher twice-born classes. The occupational duties of the Vaishya are conceived in 4 divisions: farming, commerce, cow protection, and money lending. Out of these, we as a community are always engaged in cow protection. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Krishna said, "To prescribe duty by which we maintain our lives is our object of worship." Krishna gives examples from the different varnas, social positions. Krishna continued, "For Brahmanas, the Vedic scriptures are the object of worship. For the Kshatriya, the earth is the object of worship. For the Vaishya, agriculture, trade, and other occupations are the objects of worship. For the Sudras, the higher castes are the objects of worship." Although Krishna mentioned Vaishyas in the previous verse, he describes the Vaishyas' duties in more detail in this verse because Nanda and the others were Vaishyas. Krishna said, "There are 4 occupational duties for the Vaishya: agriculture, trade, raising cows, and lending money. Among these occupations, we are continuously raising cows. Even during times of hardship, we have not resorted to the alternative occupations. Thus, for us, cows are worshipable."
Wait, that's easy. That's an easy one, right? For the Vaishyas, Krishna makes it really easy. Hare Krishna. What do you got to say about this, Acharya?
It's beautiful to see Krishna praising and embracing, this Vaishya life. He says even when it's difficult, we don't go jump to something else, do something else. Therefore, this is the worshipable thing for us. And of course, that's the sweetness of Krishna's appearance, that he's a cowherd boy, and now he's praising that this is our worship, this is our life. So it's I find that very sweet and touching how he's describing like that, and also practical, that he's saying he's not just making a general varnashram argument, but he's saying to Nanda, you're a Vaishya, you worship the cows, you're dependent on the cows. So a lot of nice things here.
I like that point you focused in on too, that if we have a particular nature and we're performing it and things get difficult, and maybe due to so many influences, it appears that it's not going to work out. You really do have to think twice, stay with it before just making a whimsical change, especially if it's a major one, to what's going on.
Yeah, and that's actually in a lot of descriptions in the Bhagavatam of Varnashram, especially like in the 7th canto. That's like a big thing that only in like real emergencies can you give up your Varna duties. And even with that, it's not unrestricted. Like for Brahmins,
Right.
Okay, you're a Brahmin. If you really have to, it's some dire emergency, okay, you can take up the duty of a Kshatriya, you can take up the duty of a Vaishya, if you really have to, but never take up the duty of a Sudra. So that's like a serious, if you're talking about Varnashram, that's a really serious part of it, that you don't give it up whimsically, only in dire situations.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, patience. It sounds like patience has to be there. We have to be a little bit patient to see what Krishna is doing and what we're supposed to be doing. That we're so passionate, we kind of don't even think. It doesn't feel good. Let me change it immediately. So we have to be a little bit patient to understand our position.
Oh, I just thought of something nice too. Not only in our work, but also in our devotional activities. Sometimes people may think, and we've seen it, oh, I'm not getting the result immediately. Maybe this isn't working for me. Maybe I should go back and do something different. This process is taking too long.
Yeah. It reminds me of when my daughter, when she was about 3 years old, she's always been into horticulture, started real young. She planted some seeds and she went and she was sitting outside looking at the seeds that she planted. And she's looking and looking, and then she comes in, Mata, when is this going to grow? We have to be patient, Look at everything, every example of everything requires some development time. So if we're just patient, of course, here we are buzzing around the material world in our little planet. We're a little teeny, and we're doing it, and we want it immediately to happen. But we're talking about God's time.
We also live in a very mechanized environment with so many machines. Put a quarter in, push a button, and a drink comes out, or a candy, or go to the store and put everything in a bag and pay for it, and it's yours. You don't have to grow it. You don't have to take the time to farm it. It's just right there at your fingertips. Turn a key and a machine starts, and then you can just go where you want. Everything is accelerated rather than living in the natural world, which by nature will slow us all down.
Right. We think that we have to wait for like 1 minute for something to upload or download or whatever load. And that's like, what? This thing is broken. It's taking me a minute. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's go on with Chatamai. Would you like to read for us? Thank you, Acharyaji.
Dandava pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, verses 22 and 23, Sarartha Darshini. The causes of creation, maintenance, and destruction are the three modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. In particular, the mode of passion creates this universe, and through sexual combination causes it to become full of variety. Impelled by the material mode of passion, the clouds pour down their rain everywhere, and by this rain, all creatures gain their sustenance. What has the great Indra to do with this arrangement? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Anticipating the possible objection that a livelihood based on cows certainly depends on Lord Indra, who supplies rain, Sri Krishna here introduces a mechanistic theory of existence in 2 verses known as atheistic Sankhya. Wow. By the mode of passion, the universe is created and men and women unite to produce offspring. Who needs the great Indra? Wow. Who needs the great Indra, since the rain sent by the clouds, which in turn are impelled by the mode of passion, is actually producing everyone's food? The word sarvata indicates that the clouds magnanimously send their rain, even on the ocean, rocks, and barren land where there is no apparent necessity for such sweet water.
Oh, okay, this is all in the discussion. What do you think about this, Chaita?
He's trying to discount that the intermediary agents of Krishna are even necessary. He's trying to help Nanda Maharaj understand that, look, it all comes from one source.
He's not really
but
saying
he's saying it in an indirect way, and he's trying to minimize Indra's power in the whole thing. And so he's definitely going to make Indra angry when Indra catches word of all this. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say you read the next slide too, because that might shine some light.
Sure. Okay. Here in the Krishna book, 1024, 18 through 23. It is sometimes found that in spite of first-class medical health and treatment by a first-class physician, a diseased person dies. It is concluded, therefore, that first-class medical treatment or the attempts of a first-class physician are not in themselves the cause for curing a patient. There must be the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, a father and mother's taking care of their child is not the cause of the child's comfort. Sometimes it is found that in spite of all care by the parents, the children go bad or succumb to death. Therefore, material causes are not sufficient for results. There must be the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj therefore advocated that in order to get good results for agriculture activities, they must satisfy Indra, the superintending deity, for the rain supply. Lord Krishna nullified this argument by saying that the demigods give results only to persons who have executed their prescribed duties. Therefore, demigods are dependent on the execution of duties and are not absolute in awarding good results to anyone.
Wow.
Okay.
So material causes are not sufficient.
Yes,
That's far out. Go on with that.
I like that he's using the words, the execution of duties are not absolute. So what Krishna is doing is he's focusing, he's trying to create the argument of, well, what is absolute? What is it that cannot be changed? What is it that cannot be overridden? And so the first paragraph in this Krishna book reminds me of that phrase, More Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna More Ke. But it's so interesting how he's not bringing in his own name or his own presence at all. He's just saying, look, there's got to be something bigger. That's what he's presenting here.
It's funny how Prabhupada is all throughout this whole section. Prabhupada's directly saying, he's calling it. He's saying he's directly making Krishna the cause. Krishna is the cause. Even though Krishna's not saying it directly in the Bhagavatam, Krishna hasn't really clearly mentioned it. Srila Prabhupada is immediately mentioning Krishna is the cause of everything.
Mm. Yeah. But how Krishna himself does not mention that. He's very oblique about it, but he's trying to come to from the point of view of one who is concerned about philosophy and tattva and doing things the right way. This is all good. But for him,
okay, but he says material causes are not sufficient for results. I think that's a very huge statement. Material causes, they're not really the cause. Just like my body, if I'm not in my body, there's no movement. I am the cause of the movement in this body. The soul is the cause of movement in all the different bodies.
And so, where does the soul come from?
The matter is dead. It's not really, there's no material cause. It's not sufficient.
What wasn't that his earlier argument was based on that mechanistic concept? This one. He's saying he was saying that these things are acting naturally. I think everybody's thinking that Krishna is saying this. This isn't Krishna's argument that sometimes it's found medical help a person still dies.
Prabhupada speaking.
Yes, he's saying what Nanda Maharaj might be thinking. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj says that in order to get the results, we have to worship a superintending deity because there is a controller. Krishna in the previous verse, he's giving the opposite argument. He's saying that this is all mechanistic. Why do we have to worship any demigods? Everything comes from matter. It's all just working independently due to actions and reactions of itself. That's the atheistic part. And Srila Prabhupada was so expert at destroying and dismantling that argument with arguments like this one.
So he's adding to Krishna's arsenal of reasons. It's so beautiful. In
Really.
case there's any doubt in our minds, he's so helpful. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, this is a very interesting section of the Bhagavatam when Krishna is preaching like this. Very interesting.
It is.
All right, let's go on. Thank you, Cheta.
Jai.
Okay. Thakur, would you like to continue? Krishna is explaining things.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so I can't see what text is there. The screen is you can understand?
Patishi, he can't see the text. Number.
I can see, yeah, okay, I can see now. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 10.24 and text 24 to 25. Sarja, Darshana. My dear father, our home is not in the cities or towns or villages. Being forest dwellers, we always live in the forest and on the hills. Therefore, may the sacrifice for the pleasure of the cows, Brahmanas and Govardhan Hill begin. With all the paraphernalia collected for worshipping Indra, let this sacrifice be performed instead. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. The word Govardhan means that which nourishes the cows. Since Govardhan Hill provides abundant grass to feed the cows, the correct men should worship it because their occupation depends on having healthy, well-fed cows. This is explained in 2 verses. Krishna said, our home is not in a city or village because we move around herding cows. Our home is a forest and mountains. End of quote. Krishna said, the blessings of the Brahmanas give directly perceivable results to us. Therefore, we should worship them as well, the cows and Govardhan Hill. Krishna speaks this verse after convincing Nanda Maharaj and others. Krishna continued, let us perform this sacrifice using the ingredients meant for Indra.
Go on reading.
Okay. Krishna book and Srimad Bhagavatam 10.24 to 24 to 25. Demigods will be satisfied by proper execution of all duties, so there is no need to worship them. Let us rather perform our prescribed duties very nicely. Actually, one cannot be happy without executing his proper prescribed duty. One who does not, therefore, properly discharge his prescribed duties is compared with an unchaste woman. The proper prescribed duty of the Brahmanas is the study of the Vedas. The proper duty of the rewarded order, the Kshatriyas, is engagement in protecting the citizens. Proper duty of the Vaishya community is agriculture, trade, and protection of the cows, and the proper duty of the Sudras is service to the higher classes, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. We belong to the Vaishya community, and our proper duty is to farm or to trade with agricultural produce, to protect cows, or to take to banking. Krishna identified himself with the Vaishya community because Nanda Maharaj was protecting many cows, and Krishna was taking care of them. He enumerated 4 kinds of business engagements for the Vaishya community, namely agriculture, trade, protection of cows, and banking. Although the Vaishyas can take to any of these occupations, men of Vrindavan will engage primarily in the protection of cows.
Okay, so these verses are describing properly executing one's duties. So why is Krishna stressing that?
So no aspect of the 4 varnas and the 4 ashrams, doing that one should do. Well, I think we talk about one psycho-physical nature, But in other words, we naturally are born with different propensities. So I'm saying that one should do what's one duty based on one propensity. So here Krishna is saying that yes, this is what we should do. And as you said, they mentioned the Vaishyas because Nanda Maharaj was a Vaishya and the Vaishya community, and they were especially engaged in worshipping of the cows, protecting cows rather. So the whole Varnashram system was being the Varna part of it was being enunciated here by Krishna.
Very good. You're seeing that Krishna is very adamant about us performing our duty according to our varna and ashram. And this makes for actually a peaceful person. Many people don't know what they're supposed to do, because everybody gets, according to the government, everybody goes to school, does it follows the same exact program. And there are some people who their propensity is not to do that. And there's a lot of confusion in the world because of this. When we understand everything, go on. But
yes, so as you know, I was a teacher for nearly 2 decades. So although we had programs for choosing careers, but it was limited in the sense that it wasn't followed. So a lot of students just came and went through the system. And then when they left school, they struggled, and in order to be employed, they end up doing things that they were naturally, disposed to are doing. So I can attest to that. So everybody should go to college or maybe spend 4 years, everybody get the same courses, so everybody, and even though sometimes the propensities are there that one is inclined for them for business, but then sometimes the courses are designed for academics.
Exactly.
So you realize that the person is struggling there because they're not in the, one would say, the element. Yes, they were their natural disposition.
Right.
So
One
it
of
goes on to say,
one of the things
Yes.
that I've found with the military, at least in the United States, I don't know how they figure it out. I don't know if they have aptitude tests or something like that, but it seems to me a lot of people go through school, as you just described, Thakur Murari, with just a general education about so many different topics, but nothing specific to their individual nature that would really enhance and bring out what they're really good at. But then when they go into the Army or the Navy or the Marines or the Air Force or whatever it is, they seem to learn, many of them, a particular skill that they use for the rest of their life, whether it's a mechanic or accounting or radar or electronics, whatever it is. Like we have some devotee friends, several of their children became dentists. They went through a whole schooling. They went, and now they're dentists, and they learned how to do that.
In the Army, they learned it in the Army.
Yeah. It's
Or
like they actually
nurses,
they got
or
taught to do things. The system is so topsy-turvy now and upside down. It's not efficient at all.
people are
one-
frustrated.
yeah. So I was saying that there is what is called one's psychophysical nature,
Yes.
one's training, and then one occupation. So in other words, what you're good at doing, what training you have gotten, and what you're really occupied to do. So, for example, said a lot of persons are working are in jobs that they really don't have much interest into, but in order to be employed, they
Right.
are in those jobs. So it's like hellish because imagine you're going to work as a mechanic when you don't have any love for mechanics. But in order to live, so you just go to work, love for the work, they're not putting on the effort, creativity. So that's what I'm saying, the Varnashram system
Yes.
is so a system that one work based on one's nature.
What's so expert also is that Krishna is employing that exact same philosophy. And he's saying, now that I've convinced you, it says here, Krishna speaks this verse after convincing Nanda Maharaj and the others. So he's saying the blessings of the Brahmins give perceivable results. Therefore, we should worship them as well as the cows and Govardhan Hill. So now he's taken exactly what we're talking about and applying it to these people whose natural aptitude in life and their whole occupations and everything in the village is around this. Okay, let's use that and worship Govardhan Hill.
You could also see how they would agree to that. Can you imagine? They're being told to worship the cow. Their whole life is based on the cows, on taking milk and having the bulls help them in the pastures, and everything that they do is based on the cows. So they have no problem worshiping the cows. I mean, it's a different thing if you're a mechanic and worship your mechanism. Maybe, I don't know. But you can see in the Vaishya community, the way Krishna is presenting it, it seems pretty logical. Did you have a question or a comment, Acharya?
Yeah.
Thank you, Thakur.
Yeah, okay. I'll go.
Okay.
One
Acharya?
thing that I always really enjoyed here is that Krishna didn't say, okay, all the grains and ghee and ingredients that you collected, don't worship Indra, so throw them out. He said, take those things and use them to worship Govardhan.
Very good.
So I was kind of, in my head, I was drawing a parallel, like when we come to Krishna consciousness, we may have some
Good.
some wealth, some education, some intelligence, some ability. And we don't say, okay, throw all of that out now that I'm coming to Krishna consciousness, but we take those ingredients, which we were using previously for our own bogus sacrifice, and we take those things and use them in Krishna consciousness.
Wasn't that the example that Srila Prabhupada gave, that the lame man and the blind man?
Mm.
That India and America. America is well educated. We know how to work with things. We read. We're educated. We know how to make money and work with material nature. Whereas India's got the culture, but they can't function very well materially. At least in those days, that was a nice analogy, and that's how he used that principle to actually spread Krishna consciousness.
In the very beginning, though, we were having a conversation yesterday with some older devotees, and how in the very beginning, when we were beginning to learn about Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness, and then try to explain this to our parents, or having our parents see, wait a minute, us acting in a way that had nothing to do with the way we were brought up, that was a little confusing. That was very confusing. We were giving up everything that they gave us, including our education. It's only after we actually really started to understand Srila Prabhupada's instructions that we could use our propensities in the service of Krishna. That wasn't always there. Everybody had to do the same thing. Usually, that's an unfortunate thing in society. Everybody has to do the same thing. No, we see it doesn't work out and people are miserable. Everybody do what they feel their propensity is, which is this whole discussion. Cheta?
Okay. Sorry. What Acharya was talking about, I was thinking yukta vairagya.
Yeah.
Whatever you have, just use it in service. Don't throw it away. Use it in service. That's
Good.
all.
No, that's good. That's the whole point that we were speaking of. Excellent. Thank you. Let's go on. How about Kate? Kate, would you like to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sweetie. How are you?
Good. Hopefully the baby lets me read, but
Okay. Well, he can read. Hare Krishna.
10:24, 26 through 30. Let many different kinds of food be cooked, from sweet rice to vegetable soups. Many kinds of fancy cakes, both baked and fried, should be prepared, and all the available milk products should be taken for this sacrifice. The Brahmanas who are learned in the Vedic mantra, must properly invoke the sacrificial fires. Then you should feed the priests with nicely prepared food and reward them with cows and other gifts. After giving the appropriate food to everyone else, including such fallen souls as dogs and dog eaters, you should give grass to the cows and then present your respectful offerings to Govardhan Hill. After everyone has eaten to his satisfaction, you should all dress and decorate yourselves handsomely. Smear your bodies with sandalwood, and then ambulate the cows, the brahmanas, the sacrificial fires, and Govardhan Hill. This is my idea, O Father, and you may carry it out if it appeals to you. Such a sacrifice will be very dear to the cows, the brahmanas, and Govardhan Hill, and also to me.
Go on.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. Krishna speaks this verse to assure the quality of the sacrifice and to inspire faith in everyone. You should engage the brahmanas in performing sacrifices. Afterwards, you should feed them and reward them with cows and money. Krishna speaks the verse 28 in order to make all classes of Vrajavasis favorable to his proposal. Feed everyone, from the Brahmin Vaishnavas down to the dogs and dog eaters. You should feed grass to the cows and worship Govardhan Hill with sandalwood, flowers, and other respectful offerings.
All right, go on to the next slide, which is the same topic.
Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24, 26 through 30. Prepare very nice foodstuffs of all descriptions from the grains and ghee collected for the yajna. Prepare rice, dal, and halva, pakora, puri, and all kinds of milk preps like sweet rice, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, and laddu, and invite the learned brahmanas who can chant the Vedic hymns and offer oblations to the fire. The brahmanas should be given all kinds of grains in charity. Then decorate all the cows and feed them well. After performing this, give money and charity to the brahmanas. As far as the lower animals are concerned, such as the dogs and lower grades of people, such as chandalas or the fifth class of men who are considered untouchable, they may also be given sumptuous prasadam. After giving nice grasses to the cows, the sacrifice known as Govardhan Puja may immediately begin. This sacrifice will very much satisfy me. In this statement, Lord Krishna practically described the whole economy of the Vaishya community. In all the communities of human society and in the animal kingdom, among the cows, dogs, goats, etc., everyone has a part to play. Each is to work in cooperation for the total benefit of all society, which includes not only animate objects, but also inanimate objects like the hills and the land. The Vaishya community is specifically responsible for the economic improvement of society by producing grains and by giving protection to the cows, by transporting food when needed, and banking and finance.
My goodness. Okay, so this whole description of what Krishna is asking Nanda Maharaj to do is glorification of the Vaishyas, of the Vaishya community, it seems like. What do you think?
I just think it's so practical. It's such practical information and, everything, just reiterating everything that everyone said. It doesn't, we're not making much sense with the way we're doing things in our society, and everybody should hear this.
Good observation. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, there's Cheta
Oh, so
and
Tisha.
Tisha. Okay, Tisha.
Haribol. I just was fascinated with his list of all the different responsibilities, and one of them is transporting the food. Our whole society is based on truck driving and transporting things all over the place. So now I understand that truck drivers are Vaishyas.
There you go.
Good. Good observation. Very good. Tisha?
Is Krishna saying this sacrifice will also satisfy me? Is he saying that as a son or as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Well, that's good that you mentioned that, because that's another point. Just remember now, Krishna is 7 years old. He's 7 years old. He's taking the part of a little boy, and he's telling his father and all of the cowherd men who have been following this tradition for hundreds of years, don't do this. This is what you have to do. Now he's 7 years old, and they're all listening to him. How is that? That's my question. Who can answer that? How is that?
Without knowing he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they're listening.
They don't know.
No.
Right. So how are they even considering what he has to say? That's kind of far out. Does anyone know? Oh, Thakur, what do you think?
Well, usually sometimes you listen to your children or your grandchildren, and sometimes they make some proposals that are so forward, but real practical, very practical. And there's a
Yeah.
part where they said that, if what I'm saying is okay by you, you can consider it. I think
Okay.
in one of the last
Well,
lines
me
there, they
even
say that.
more
Yeah.
than that. More than that. Why are they listening to Krishna? I mean, of course, you listen and you have a relationship with your grandchildren or your children, and you're listening to what they have to say, but you really know what the most important thing.
On that side, we'll see that Nanda Maharaj actually does acquiesce. And he says, okay, Krishna, because you want to do it, it sounds like a good idea. You have some good points. We'll do it. Just let us do our Indra Yagya. And then afterwards, we'll do that little yagya that you want to do. But no, Krishna says he's stopping the whole thing. He's stopped, like you're saying, Sama, he's stopping a tradition that's been going on their whole
How
lives.
is that possible?
Who
can say?
Nobody does that just because their child wants something.
So what does that mean? Anyone know, Acharya?
Sama has a nice realization. She's building it up.
Come on. Okay. If nobody knows,
We
I will
want
tell
we
you.
want to hear it from you, Mataji.
It just seemed to me, I could be wrong, but God, no matter what age he is, his will be done.
And he's influential.
And he this is what Krishna wants. And he might look like he's 7 years old with beautiful googly eyes and he's hypnotizing everybody, but he's God after all. And he can pull it off, even if he's 7. I mean, there's one picture of Krishna sucking his toe lying on a banyan leaf in the causal ocean, or when the great destruction. And what's that Muni's name who sees him? Pati in
Mark and Yarisi.
Yeah. So there's Krishna in a baby form. Everything's coming from him. And so it doesn't matter what form. He could be a boar. He could be a turtle. He is still God. And even though the cowherd men didn't know he was God, he was still God. It doesn't matter whether we know that he's God or not. I thought that was far out. I thought that was far out. He is. He is like pulling it off. Why? Because he's God after all. How do you picture that? Well, that's my real realization. Okay. Well, we've come to the end, but there's some nice slides.
No. I went over those. Those were just there for my reference. I didn't take them.
I see.
Actually, the reason that today is a little shorter is because this part of the discussion transitions into the actual worship. So that's the next lesson, rather than including just a partial part of it. So I stopped here because also it's very interesting. We had a nice conversation, and I really wanted to re-enter and do some more scrutinizingly study about this conversation and what Krishna is actually presenting. So thank you, everyone. That was enlightening. I understand much better his conversation with Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men and what's actually going on here and the transition of why he's stopping that sacrifice.
Well, remember at the very beginning when I asked Tisha, what does that mean? Is Krishna speaking the truth? It is the truth, but his way of looking at the truth and our way of looking at the truth sometimes two different things. But whatever he says and whatever he does is of such great value. It just keeps on building.
But the acharyas themselves are saying he's presenting an atheistic concept, and this one right here was it. It's actually atheistic Sankhya philosophy that the modes of nature are by the mode of passion the universe is created. That's not true. The mode of passion is employed by the controller.
Sure.
But this is atheistic right here. So that's where I was coming from in the beginning of the conversation.
Tisha, can you help me out here? I got to save face.
Oh, it's okay. And like you said, I like this realization. When I was doing my studies of Vrindavan, there's a famous book called the Adi Varaha Purana, spoken by Varaha, the Lord in the form of a boar, to Bhumi, who's the personification of earth. And it's all the descriptions of how dear Mathura Mandala is, all the area around Mathura, where Krishna actually appears as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. So you're right. In whatever form, a turtle, a tortoise, a lion, a swan, a horse, he's still the supreme personality of Godhead.
You know, also back to that atheistic thing.
Yeah.
From that, we were able to decipher and understand the Varnas and Ashram. That actually, you know, worshiping your work. It sounds like a very materialistic thing, but it's a foundational thing in society. And look how beautiful Krishna arranged it for the Vaishya community to worship the cows. It was just wonderful. So, you know, we have to, even he's presenting this atheistic theory. That's why it was confusing for me in the first place. Why is he presenting something like that? But when you think about it more, there's so many things that can come from it.
The ends justified the means.
Okay. Jai Govardhan Puja. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Govardhan Puja.
Okay,
you,
well,
everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you next time.
Vanchakalpatrubyascha, Kripasinudevaccha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo,
Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai.
Everyone, yes. Have a good day, buddy. Hare Krishna.
You too. Hare Krishna.